icon.
Chat.
This way, right?
I see microphone. I see turn off camera. I see settings.
No, you're not looking at the...
Look at the other side.
Left side.
There's a little chat icon, and then
Should I hit the one that says chat?
Huh?
Yeah, now you're typing.
Oh yeah.
Okay, welcome everyone to ConnectedLearning.tv. This is the 42nd webinar in our series and our first live webinar of 2013. And over the past several months, we've had a great time seeing a diverse community develop around these webinars, and are looking forward to the new year. If you're watching on live stream, we really encourage you to use the chat stream to introduce yourselves, connect with one another, share resources, and post questions for the great guests that we have in the Google Plus Hangout today. The URL for our public group notes, this is something we sort of ask everyone to contribute to. It's always very helpful. Should be included in the live stream chat, and it'd be great if you could capture highlights and share things that pop out to you, that are interesting to you, and on today's topic. And the topic is the power of kids teaching kids. And we have with us today two of the co-creators of the website mathtrain.tv, Camilla Spielman and Tiana and their teacher mentor, Eric Marcos. Mathtrain.tv can be thought of as a youth-powered version of Khan Academy, except all of the tutorials are made entirely by youth, for youth. And before Eric, Tiana, and Camilla began helping us sort of frame today's conversation, I wanted to give each of them a chance to kind of introduce themselves. So we'll go ahead and get started, and let's start with you, Camilla.
Hi, I'm Camilla Spielman. I make videos under the alias of Bob, and I guess I'll just say how I got into this. So Mr. Marcos was my 6th grade teacher for math. I think that was like pre-algebra or something, and we just I liked to hang out in his classroom after school and do my homework, and he had this really cool computer that you could write on, and he would kind of make videos on them. So one day I asked him to, so that's just kind of how I started.
Hi, I'm Tiana and I also had Mr. Marcos in 6th grade for pre-algebra, and that's kind of, his classroom was kind of where Camilla and I met. I mean, we didn't have class together, but we were always in there after class together. So making videos kind of served as a way for us to become really close, and now we're best friends. So it's kind of cool to see us on Google Plus together right now, talking about something that started 6 years ago.
That's cool. Thanks, you guys. Eric?
All right. So my name's Eric Marcos, and yeah, I'm a teacher. I teach 6th grade mathematics, and it's at a middle school, and it's in Santa Monica, California. And as you just heard, I had these two students about 6 years ago, and back then is when we started this entire project that we're about to talk about. And now 6 years later, we're still going strong, and so I'm excited about that. I'm excited to have Bob and Paul on right now, because as you'll find out, these two people, without them, I don't know, who knows where we would be right now. Maybe we'd be on a different Google Hangout or something, but they're just so instrumental at getting, you know, everything started with this student tutorial thing. So I'm very, very fortunate that they're here now and that they were there then too. So
yeah, thanks you guys. Well, Tiana and Camilla, why don't you walk us through how the specifics of how this thing got started and what sort of inspired you to start making the videos for your peers?
Well, I mean, Camilla was the first student to create a video. But before all of that happened, Mr. Marcos had mathtrain.com before he had mathtrain.tv, and it was our classroom website, and there was this chat box on it that allowed us to ask questions, and we could post questions in the forum. And one day I had a question for Mr. Marcos about the math homework, so I chatted him in the little chat box, and he responded explaining how to do this math problem, but instead of getting a typed out response, I got a video. So I got a math cast of what I expected to get this long typed out confusing response. And you know, I was super excited that I got a video of my math teacher. So, did I explain what a math cast was? Should we explain what that is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so what a mathcast is, it's a screencast of math. So what Mr. Marcos did was record his actual computer screen, and he recorded what he was writing on his computer screen with he had a tablet PC, and we used Camtasia Studios to record the screen itself. So I couldn't see him in it, but I could hear him talking and see what he was writing on the screen. So he was able to explain the problem to me. And I received this video and was able to understand my math homework. And the next day in class, I was like, guess what I got last night? I got a personal math video. I know how to do the math homework. I think that's kind of what started it. Everyone was just kind of like, what? She got a math video? Why don't I get math videos? Like, why can't I do that?
And Eric, this was the first time you had done something like that?
Yeah, well, so yeah, what happened was, I mean, there's definitely a lot of fortunate accidents that happened along the way. This was about 2006, I believe. Yeah, 2006. And so, first of all, the iPhone hasn't come out yet. And I had been in some writing class because I just felt like, I live in, the Hollywood area, so I figured, everyone who lives out here maybe should want to write something. So I just took a class for fun one day. And one of the persons in the writing class had this tablet PC where it was a convertible tablet PC where, it opens up like a regular laptop and then you can fold the screen down on itself and you can actually write onto the actual screen. And I was fascinated because I was walking or going to this writing class every week with pages and pages and pages of other people's scripts and things and my own and revisions and it was just so much stuff. And this guy just had this beautiful laptop with everything all digitalized, and he could write on it and make comments and search and find things. And I just started thinking to myself, when I probably should have been thinking about my script, I started thinking, wow, I could probably use that in the classroom. And the first thing I thought of was I could use that tablet PC to grade papers, which is kind of funny because I'm a mathematics teacher and I don't really grade a lot of papers per se, but for some reason I was excited. I couldn't wait to start assigning papers to grade them on the computer, which made no sense. But I just knew that there was a reason that I could use that tablet. So I ended up getting one, and I ended up, like Tiana said, I ended up discovering Camtasia Studio, which just happens to be the software that lets you record what you're doing on the screen. So as you're writing on your computer screen, it's recording that, and it's recording what you're saying, and then you push a button and it makes it into a little movie, and then you can upload that movie file, to the web or even give it to somebody on a disc or whatever. So that was a pretty revolutionary, thing. And so I did start making a few. I remember making a couple back in, the 2006 or so. I posted at least one up, or maybe two, on YouTube at the time, which is remarkable when I think back to that, because YouTube hadn't been bought up by Google yet, actually. And the whole thing with what Tiana was saying was a couple of months went by. I kind of made a few, and then at some point, this is where Camilla's story will come in, but at some point, after I made that video for Tiana, and she liked it, and the kids in the class liked it, I realized, wow, this is really powerful. I mean, I don't. Have you ever tried to explain a math problem in an email? Like trying to type in, 3 to the third power, and you have to use like the little caret sign, or trying to line up like a, x plus 2 equals 7, and trying to show the steps underneath each other and using tab, and it doesn't work. I mean, it can be a disaster, or it can be challenging, or not pretty sometimes. And so this just made it so simple. I was able to just write whatever I wanted to write. Like I could draw a square, I could draw arrows, I could make different colors, I could say, oh, don't forget this, and circle it and underline it and highlight it and make that quick movie. And when I saw the reaction of Tiana and when I saw the reaction of the rest of the class, I realized, wow. I posted that video for her immediately on our class website, and then from that point on, basically, students would start requesting videos, or I just on my own would start making some, just to play or to have online to be available to help with some math concepts. So. And
if I could just add in, what was really cool about getting a math video like from my math teacher at home was that I had his voice being able to explain every step of the problem to me, instead of in an email normally. It would just, even the fact that he would email me how to do the math problem, but in an email I would have to try and figure out why I would be doing something something, but he was able to explain it to me.
We were,
So that was also one of the really big benefits from that.
we were using a Moodle website, if you're familiar with Moodle, content management system. So it allowed what Tiana said for if I felt like going on to the website, students were in like a walled garden type thing. And if I felt like going online, I was able to intercept messages and all that. And so that was one of those situations where I was online. Like I said, Tiana, sent a message and I was able to get it. So that helped a lot too, being able to have that, because, if I wasn't probably, I didn't have an iPhone back then. So I don't know if I was checking email as much every minute as I do nowadays. Maybe I was, but 2006, So that helped out a lot too, having that content management system.
And at some point, maybe this is where Camilla part comes in the story, but the students start doing the videos, right? Is that, Camilla, do you make the first one? Is that what happened?
Yeah. I mean, so we would see Mr. Marcus's videos. I can't remember if he made a point of showing them in class or not, but we knew they existed. And so I was just kind of in his classroom all the time asking him for help. And one time I understood a problem well, and I thought it would be cool if I could make a video. And it was really just the fun of working on the actual computer because, like Mr. Marcos said, it was revolutionary that you could actually write on a computer, and I had never seen that before. So we pulled up a blank page, and it gives you this electronic pen, and I just kind of picked a problem and recorded myself doing it. So it took a few tries. Definitely we didn't get it on the first try, but I kind of just explained it as if I was explaining it to someone sitting next to me, and it was surprisingly fun, if math can be fun.
And it's also really cool because, like, when I saw that Camilla made a video, I mean, my initial reaction is like, what? She got to make a video and I didn't get to make a video? Like, okay, something's wrong here. Like, and my little competitive side ran in, and I wanted to make a video for that. And I think that's one of the reasons that this thing has gotten so huge, because all of these kids are so intrigued by playing with this computer and being able to make these videos, and like they're shown all over the world, which at the time they weren't, but now having that knowledge that, oh my God, I have the power to do this, it's so cool. And as a sixth grader, you're like, oh my God, this is such a revolutionary concept that I'm going to be able to be a part of. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons when I saw that Camilla did a video first, I was like, I want to do that. I want to be that cool. I want to do those things. It was just really exciting to be able to jump on that.
And how quickly did how quickly did the other kids jump on it and go, hey, I want to be a part of making these videos? Was it a slow build-up, or was it right away?
Can we set the scene for 1 second?
Sure.
I wanted to back up one little thing. There's another important little aspect. When I had that tablet PC, leading up to the moment when Camilla made the first video, she said she liked to hang out in the classroom and do homework. But what was happening actually is the tablet PC, it was cool, and it still is pretty cool. I love tablet PCs, and students love them too. And so they would come and do their homework, and sometimes they would do their homework, but a lot of times they would want to play on the tablet and just use it because it was new, it was different. So that is like an important part, because not only was Camilla there doing homework, but she was also at times playing around. Tiana was there at times, drawing pictures, doing things, making fonts. You can make your own fonts. And then there were other students also. And so that's an important part. So when we answered the next, when one of them answered that next question there, what happened up to that point was there were already a whole bunch of students in the room, watching. In fact, there were students present when Camilla made her first video. I don't recall exactly.
So they're hanging out, experimenting, messing around. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was like physics applications that Mr. Marcos had downloaded and drawing applications. So there was something where you could use a pencil or a paintbrush, and we would just play around with it. And then the physics application, you attach things and you create platforms, and anything that we could do, it wasn't always math related. We were just having fun playing on the tablet. So that's, like he's saying, how it really got started. Because of course we're in there to get help with math homework, but we were really in there because that computer was the coolest thing around.
And it's also that the environment created in Mr. Marcos's classroom was very relaxed, in the sense that we were allowed to play with the computer. Like, if I were to go to let's say my English teacher's room after school, she would be at her desk and I would be in like one of the student desks that like you can't separate the chair from the desk, and I would be sitting there talking to myself doing my homework. But in Mr. Marcos's classroom, it was kind of like, everybody gather around, let's play on the computer, let's do this math problem together, and it was a really communal thing. So it made everyone feel involved and engaged in what was happening. And I mean, being able to play with my sixth grade math teacher's fancy brand new computer and him letting me pick it up and do whatever I want with it, like that's a really big deal to me. And at the time I didn't realize this, but the trust that he put on us is crazy. Like we could have gone through his emails. And he trusted us not to, and because he trusted us not to, we weren't going to.
So that question of like, just so how quickly does it become something that everybody wants, or a lot of people, a lot of kids want to be involved in? Does it take time?
I think Mr. Marcos would know best, but I don't. It was at least maybe a month before anyone else did, or a few months. I can't.
Actually, you were back in there right away yourself. So
yeah.
So if you count yourself, you were once I think once some of them kind of got it, got a bite of it, it is fun. I mean, it really is fun. I mean, nowadays we got iPads, we get, and people are maybe teeny bit more used to being able to do some kind of neat things where instead of just typing on a keyboard on a computer, but it's still actually really cool. But if you think about the first time you maybe manipulated something on a screen or something like that, it's pretty exciting. And so, Camilla, I remember you were still in there making them, and then Tiana, I remember from some of the dates of like, I think it was February 14th, 2007 was when we posted your first video. And within that same month, I know there were other ones that were posted. So there were definitely, students making them. I don't recall, but I do recall that all of a sudden all those kids that were in the room drawing things were still wanting to draw things, but now all of a sudden they wanted to make a video too, or sometimes they'd want to collaborate or whatnot. So it did shift a little bit to some more like content material, but not always, and that was never the point anyway. It was just, hey, to tell you the truth, just the fact that kids were in a mathematics classroom in middle school after school for hours, sometimes they'd be there for 2 hours. I mean, to me, that is pretty amazing on its own, because I really got to know the students. I got to actually pick up like what maybe they were, things about math even. It would come through, something they might not have asked in class, something that somebody else didn't realize. They'll show each other. Kids started showing other kids things. There was really quite like the community, like Tiana was saying. There were really a lot of things going on that was so exciting to me that my job was to keep staying out of the way. And the whole thing about checking the email, the kids were really good. Like if something did happen, they knew like to shut it off or to put it or to close it or whatnot. And I figured, what's the worst that's going to happen? I mean, what, are they going to knock it over? Are they going to, I just asked that the students didn't ever pull the pen out of someone's hand, the stylus pen. And at the beginning, I just had them just let me know they were going to go over and use it in case I had like the grade book open or something.
Now, Eric, a lot of schools and a lot of parents are somewhat restrictive around these types of, technology and social media and all that. Did you get in the beginning or at any time pushback or any sort of questioning about this, or?
No. And you can have both of the students talk about their parents, but the thing that was, this was an amazing feeling inside for me even, because the parents loved it. I mean, there were times they can tell a story about when they got in trouble for being late, for not running downstairs when their mom was waiting to pick them up because they were playing on the computer. They can definitely tell you about that. But the parents were very into it. I mean, the kids were spending so much time on one problem that's amazing. They were getting a lot out of it. And we can go into some of those things too. But like the fact that the student was, at times working on a problem like, x plus 2 equals 3 or whatever, and trying to figure and solving it and showing how to solve it. There was a lot of great learning that was going on there. The learning that the student was getting, and then the learning that will happen eventually if it gets shown somewhere else. It was a very positive experience. The parents would come. Actually, the parents, now that I think of it, as you remember, a lot of the parents and guardians would sometimes come in and we'd have them sit down in the back and they'd watch. I remember. And people who weren't even in my class would sometimes walk in and kind of look and just see what was going on. Because we would broadcast on the back of the screen what was happening on the tablet screen just so everyone could see what was happening. So no, we didn't. And plus the students used aliases.
Yeah.
You want to add to that? Someone else?
I'm sorry?
Please, someone else, you can add to that. Or,
Well, yeah, I mean, my mom originally, like, she didn't, I would always be in Mr. Marcos's room doing my math homework after school. It just kind of turned into a routine. Like, what time should I pick you up, sweetie? School ends at 3, and I would say 5, because I'd be in there doing my homework and playing on this computer. And it got to a point that my mom would be outside calling me who knows how many times. Like, she called the school, have them make an announcement. Because I'm in there making videos and she's sitting in the car waiting for me.
Yeah, it was lucky that my mom really likes her car because she ended up spending a lot of time waiting for me, which she was very generous with. But I think she understood the gravity of what was being done, and I don't think any parent is going to be upset about it.
That's the most trouble I got into, but it was usually the kid. The parent would come up saying, "I've been looking for you for an hour. Where you been? I've been outside." And I'd go, "Can't you just?" I would just remind the kids, "Can you call next time? Let them know that you're up here or something." Oh, I'd feel bad, but then I'd be secretly happy because they made some great videos that I, would get to post. So the parents were so, and still are. The parents have been the most like supportive. I mean, it's such a great positive thing for them. I think, and if we had some parents that want to chime in or if they're here, I don't know, you could even hear from their aspect. But yeah, so that's fortunately, and like I said, we use a fake name. I didn't use student faces. So like you see their faces now, they got permission to do this and they're older now, these kids, but we didn't use their faces ever. And when I say we, I mean like me and like my students, but because there is nobody else but the students and me. Like I didn't, at the time, it was just my little classroom and whoever was in the room at the time. But we used fake names. That's why Tiana was Paul and Camilla was Bob. That way, you didn't have their real name, you didn't see their face, and so that's it,
Camilla and Tiana, how did the other kids, did they come up and ask you and say, "Hey, I want to do this, I want to be a part of this"? I mean, how did it sort of grow and snowball? Did you guys have to sort of lead it for a long time?
We didn't really, no one really asked me about it. I don't think people even knew that I was Paul for the majority of the year.
I don't think, no one, if anyone was ever interested, I think they knew that it was all about coming in after school and making the videos. It was, no one ever really came through me with their interest. In class, we would watch the video sometimes, and Mr. Marcos would say Bob and kind of say that maybe it was me, and so
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
right, and so people knew who was making the videos, and a lot of kids liked watching the videos, but then the kids who were interested, they just maybe stayed that day after school or came another day after school to do it, and it kind of just no one had to work to get other people involved. The people who were interested, they made it on their own.
And that's another thing about it, that we would be shown the videos in class, but everything would be done after school on our own, like through our own will. No one really ever had to force anyone to do anything. And I think if we were forced to do it, they wouldn't be as fun. Because it's this impromptu thing that, like Camilla, Bob, and I made a video together, and it's us just having a normal conversation that happens to be about math. So she'll say something and I'll fill in, and we're laughing this whole time. But if Mr. Marcos said, "This is your homework, you have to do this as an assignment," I would not spend nearly as much time putting those colors in or all these extra fun add-ins that I could make that video in 10 minutes, but instead I chose to make it for 2 hours because it was something fun for me. And I think that's also just really important, that no one was really ever forced into this, or even, I don't know, even asked to do it. It was kind of like, I'm going to volunteer to be a part of this. And students went up to Mr. Marcos and they were a part of it.
And the motivation besides fun, is it kids enjoy helping other kids, or is it?
I think at first for me, it was, I just want to be ahead of the game. I want to participate in this and show everyone what I got. And it turned into me helping myself before helping other kids, because originally these videos weren't shown to other students. It was when I made this video, I'm talking on the spot, recording myself, and I have to verbally explain every step of my problem.
I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. Continue.
Oh, well, I was just gonna add, I mean, I think the motivation is different for every student. And whether or not they started with motivation to help others, like Tiana said, everyone did help themselves, because I always say that when you explain something over and over again, you're just solidifying it in your head. So when we would make a video about something, that kind of became a subject we were expert in. But there, I think, I really think I mean, we've said this many times, but I think the main thing is people just had fun doing it, whether it was playing on the computer, and then Tiana and I had so much fun doing the videos together. Those were my favorite ones, is when it was Bob and Paul does this instead of a plain Bob video. It was just because we were just the two of us were just talking and writing on the computer at the same time. And so I think a few other pair videos came after that, because people could see the fun in it. But it was good to know that people were watching you also. I mean, that's always a motivation, is that other people will be seeing your videos, your classmates mainly. You always looking for acceptance in your classes. And then eventually, when the videos are being put on mathtrain.tv and YouTube and TeacherTube and other websites, you know that other people outside the classroom. And then when Mr. Marcos would send us an email, because he would, I never understood how he did it, but he would make it so that if his name was ever brought up on Google or something, he got some kind of notification. So he would let us know, like, this person in this state, this teacher is doing what we're doing now. And this person contacted me and said, I like what you're doing, and we're going to do it in my class. And then that part was also a separate motivation. And that was really cool, just to know that people started doing the same thing because they saw what we were doing. And that always wanted me to make more videos.
Yeah, and that's the part that kind of gave me the warm and fuzzies inside, that all of these people, they want to do it too. And it's cool because the students who are making the videos are learning. Like Camilla and I mean, 6th grade was my best year for math. I am sure of it. Because I spent so much time after school making these videos because I wanted to. And I'm able to make them, and then my neighbor is able to watch them and hear my explanation about them. Like, and it's also just really cool that all of these other people in all these different countries are watching them. There's a cluster map on mathtrain.tv, and it shows how many hits in different countries there are. And it was my first conference that I spoke at, and Alan November, it was at BLC in Boston, and Alan November calls me up on stage, and I'm timid walking up there, and he goes, were you aware that all of these people have seen your work? And that was the first time that it hit me that this is literally a worldwide thing, and I'm helping those people with my videos. It was almost intimidating. Like, all these people are watching me. But I mean, it's awesome, and all of the kids in his class now know that it's a worldwide movement, and people in all these different countries are making videos similar to those of Math Train. And I think that's definitely a big part of it that makes people more excited about it.
So my son, I have a son who's a sophomore in high school, and it so happens the other day he came home and had listened to a lecture in class and hadn't captured what the teacher was trying to say. He watched 4 videos from other grade on the quiz, and I asked him what was it about the videos that were different, and he just said it's just the way the kids explain it. Can you guys comment on that? Is it something about just the way kids connect with kids, even to do the teaching, or?
Yeah, we call it the kid language.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great to hear from different kids' perspectives, but just the fact that you're hearing from a kid, that's something we also talk about. That's part of the title for the PowerPoint that Mr. Marcos always does is Kids Teaching Kids, and there's this whole it's kind of vital to have students explain to other students, because you grow up and you learn things in the same era and in the same way, and so when you're explaining it to somebody, you're explaining it in a way that they're going to understand, and they have almost their own language. And then likewise, it's helpful to hear different students' perspectives, because people are going to explain it in different ways. So I can see why your son would do that.
Yeah, and there could be a time that Mr. Marcos would explain a problem and skip an important step to me, and Camilla would be able to catch that step, but I wouldn't be able to, and she would be able to explain it to me in that way. And it's things like that, that we're at the same level of intelligence. We've been learning together our whole lives, and our teachers are all a few steps ahead of us because they're teaching us. So when someone catches that step in the process and are able to explain it to me, it's very helpful.
And that's also a big part of doing a video together. I mean, it was fun, but it's also, when you're watching the video, you're going to learn, I mean, I don't want to say twice, but almost twice as much, because when we explain things, we fill each other in. And so when I'm saying something, there was something that, and there's a specific part that we go to in one of our rounding a decimal videos that Tiana might skip over, and I say, oh, you mean this one? So I clarify. And so there's certain things that I would say that she naturally wouldn't, and there are certain kids who would want to hear it one way or the other, and to hear both at the same time is really helpful.
So how does it work now? Because you have a podcast and there's some sort of an app, right? How do the videos get made? How many kids are making videos? Are you guys still involved?
Right. Well, we made most of our videos while we were in middle school, and we'll often do them at conferences to show how simple they are. But the videos are all in not all of them, because Mr. Marcos was also tutoring students, but most of them are for his classrooms or subjects that they learn in those grades. So or me at least, I don't make math videos anymore. It's more of this kind of thing. But Mr. Marcos will tell you how many students are still making them, because I'm sure there's still a lot.
Well, so what happened was, and again, this is all very fortunate. You know, a lot of the timing was fortunate. I mentioned the iPhone. You know, that was a shift in time that became important, because all of a sudden, a lot of our students, or a lot of people, started having portable devices, and so it made sense to start sharing the videos somewhere other than just posting it on like a blog here and there, because that can be really annoying to try to find the video that I made for Tiana. Let's say you have to go back and find whatever date that was that I posted it, or whatever, you know, or wherever I put it. There was no actual, you know, organization to it. And at the time, YouTube, which was probably just about a year old or so at the time, it was blocked at our school. So I decided to create mathtrain.tv. Mathtrain.com was our class website, but mathtrain.tv it's like a YouTube clone type website. So I built that thing and used that as our platform to put all the videos up onto, and so that then people could share them easily. I could play them easily. And from that also, like I said, students started having portable devices. And so I figured out how to get a podcast on iTunes. You know, I had to figure all this stuff out. No one was teaching me this stuff. I was just excited about it. So I went and figured out how to, you know, do a podcast. And so I started taking the videos and uploading them somewhere and making it so that you could then, you know, subscribe to a feed, you know, and get all your videos now on a podcast. And we had a kid that year, or yeah, I think it was that year. Was it that year or the year after? That one time, this is in the very first like year of everything, and the iPhones had just come out. But he went like to the river or somewhere or something, you know, some vacation or something, like the water or something, or some vacation. And he brought his phone, and he had downloaded or pre-downloaded some Math Train videos on his phone. And he told me how, while they're out camping, he actually was watching the videos. And come on, that is, even today, that's mind, you know, boggling, because he's on vacation and he's watching math videos because he wants to. There wasn't homework or anything. And it was exciting. It was fun, and it still is. And so we created a podcast, and then eventually another kid within a year after that, I think, decided he was going to teach himself. He was a sixth grader, became, I think by the time he was in seventh grade, he got the app like out, I think. Or maybe he did it during sixth grade, I don't remember. But he taught himself Objective-C, which is a language, computer language, and he created an app for the iPhone. So, and it's still the same one we use today because he wanted to, and he did it for free.
It seems like one of the conditions that kind of existed, Eric, in your classroom was permission to tinker and fail and experiment. Is that the case?
Yeah, well, I think that I found very quickly that it was important to, like we mentioned, trust. Even with the website, when students would post things on the website, it got to a point where the students even knew how to post things. You know, they were learning how to like regulate like what they were saying, what they wouldn't say. And when I started realizing, you know, how good they were, even helping patrol each other, even I realized, you know, how helpful everyone is to each other, to how kids can be to each other. And like when I brought that to the tablet PC, of just like, hey, you know, let's just see what happens if the kids, you know, try it out. Plus, you know what, secretly, I didn't really know much about the tablet PC either, so it was just a great way to also, you know, learn more things, you know. So it was a very big benefit for me in that sense too. But yeah, that definitely was really important. Given, I guess they say like Alan November, I know we mentioned his name, you know, there'll never be a chance to say his name enough times. But he mentions and talks about like giving up control, and that is a very difficult thing. But it wasn't difficult for me because it actually happened. I didn't necessarily one day say I'm going to do that. I kind of realized that that was the right way to go, and it's been working out. I still have that same computer from 6 years ago. I don't use it as much. I have it though. It's never broken. It's never had the screen broken. I've never lost a pen except for myself once when I went on a trip somewhere. I mean, it's amazing. I've carried that tablet across the country, different places, and the students using it every single day, and it's never been broken.
Speaking of that, I found a pen in my house.
You did?
So.
Well, there you go. So I never lost a pen either. But yeah, I think it's important, you know, that whole. I think it's important to have that aspect of the kids. The kids, as the quote says. I noticed you put a quote up on the teaser for this particular webinar. I said that I guess I'd said to somebody once, but it really is. I found really important. I found, at least for me, to at least have that trust, you know, and then it really does come back to you. If it doesn't, then you make adjustments and whatnot. But for me, I've been very fortunate. It's been working out, you know, that I just expect that the kids are going to do the right thing, and then I walk away and I hope that it is going to happen, and then they do usually, you know. I mean, I'm not foolish, you know. I mean, I don't just, you know, go out and get coffee and leave my computer out and my car keys in the car running or something, you know. But I probably could.
What would you guys say would be the most compelling reasons for other classrooms or other teachers to adopt this kind of approach?
I think that the main reason that this has been so helpful is because I've been able to learn from it. And not only have I learned math through this, but I've learned just the way that I like to learn. Like, I've understood that if someone's trusting me with their things, then I'm going to be able to respect their things, and that's the way to like gain their trust. And I've learned that being able to have a community environment in a classroom instead of this like teacher at the board and me timidly sitting in my seat, the classroom should be me being able to go up to the board and me talking to my teacher and having a discussion as opposed to just listening to someone talk at me. So I think that this method has really helped me understand that that's the way that learning should be. And I think a lot of students haven't really found that yet, or at least for me, I mean, because all of elementary school, that's kind of how it is. You just hear your teacher talk and you do the little math problem and you write your English sentence when you're learning to write, but it's not as interactive as I would like it to be. And this has taught me that that's a really great way to learn.
I think this method that Mr. Marcos started is applicable to a lot of subjects, and so I think it's very useful in almost any different classroom. So I mean, we've seen how it can be used in math, and after that, other math teachers at the school did start to use it like that. Actually, my teacher from a year later started to do that, kind of in a different way, but that's the cool thing about it, is that teachers can use it in the way they want, whether they want to do it for extra credit or whether they want to have it for students who don't understand the concepts to help understand it better. But it can be used for science. So another example is one of my teachers before Mr. Marcos, he would record himself writing things, and he would take notes on a physical piece of paper with a video camera. And I don't know whether he went back to start using this, but that's a perfect application for this kind of teaching, these screencasts, and I guess they would be science casts in his area. But and then how this started out, also Mr. Marcos mentioned, was his script class. So it can be used in all sorts of fields, and that the concept of grading essays or grading papers, or even physical writing on the tablet, if you want to write an essay, it can be really useful too. And a website called turnitin.com. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but I know a lot of schools in the country use that, and there's this feature that one of my teachers was telling me about, and I'm not sure if they started using it or not, but they can look at the essays that have been turned in, and they can, I'm not sure if they can write on it, but I know that they can record a little clip while they go over it, which is one of the things that Tiana mentioned when she got her first video from Mr. Marcos. And so it's really important when you're explaining something to someone, you're gonna say more things, and often I think more meaningful things than if you were to just type it out. And so I think it's really helpful that this kind of learning can be used when you're grading essays. You just record what you're saying. So that was just, sorry, it was kind of long. I was just trying to demonstrate all the types of fields that this can be used in. So I really think that this is a really helpful way to kind of reinvent the classroom.
May I? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Eric.
But I am sorry, though. You mentioned something that reminded me of something when you said the scripted. It's actually funny. I didn't even think of how funny this is. How I wrote a script. You know, that was the whole idea. How it all started with me writing a script for nothing to do with math. I was just, I had a TV show or whatever. One of those kind of things. But the thing that's funny about this, or at least to me, so I guess I can be the only one laughing, is that these kids, and including me, when we make these videos, they're not scripted. Yeah. And that's really important. When you call a student up, or when the student goes to the front of the board, or comes to the front, or whatever it is, whether it's an overhead projector or the chalkboard or whiteboard or whatever color it is, when they go up there, the student doesn't probably write out a script as they're walking to the front, like, oh, okay, can you come up and answer number 3? They don't usually write up a script. The student usually goes to the front during class and says, oh, okay, here's my notes on, looks like I took this and I added 3 and I subtracted 5, and then I did that, and that's how I got my answer, and that's what they do. That's the beauty of these, and I think that's one of the powerful things. We don't spend time writing scripts and making it sound generic and lifeless. The kids just talk on their own, which then opens up a lot of things that, from a teacher perspective, I can actually hear, whether, like, if a student doesn't understand, like, what do you mean, why did you subtract 2 from each side? Well, because, you take 2, you put it over there. Okay, but why do you do that? Well, because, that's what you do, And you can see, like, if there's holes in there, because they're actually explaining it, and they're in their own words. And that's very powerful. And we love that. I've seen people do these kind of videos, and they do it with scripts, and that's great. It's not what we like to do. It's not our way. I just feel there's so much, that authentic assessment, I guess, is the words they use for that. There's so much power that you get when you can hear, and the student can hear themselves and all that.
And also, what's so great about the videos, as opposed to going to a chalkboard or a whiteboard, is that being called on in class can be really intimidating to some people. And I know that this year math is very hard for me, and whenever I'm called up to the board, I get really intimidated and I'm nervous in front of people, and I don't normally perform my best when I'm that anxious. So my teacher's like, what do you do next? I'm like, I don't know. But being able to kind of hide behind this computer with our fake names, it makes it way easier to perform at our best. And Mr. Marcos always tells a story about his student Penelope, who he was tutoring. She didn't go to the same middle school as us, but he always would tell us that he had this student who wasn't the best student in school. And actually, Mr. Marcos, do you want to tell the story? I don't want to ruin it for you.
Wow, I hope she's not listening. No, you got it right. You're good. That's good. She actually did go to our school though, but you'll never know who she is.
Well,
Because it's not her real name. Again, it's a fake name. That's what's the beauty of it. See, she doesn't even know who she is, even 6 years later. Well, I mean, I can just fill you in quickly, but basically, going along with what Tiana said, Penelope wasn't doing very well in her class, and I got hired to tutor her. She wasn't my student, but I got hired to tutor her. So I went and tutored her, and without all the great drama of this story, because it's actually quite a fun story to tell, because it's actually very, very vivid in my mind. But she did not necessarily enjoy having a tutor come after school. She didn't like math, which was amazing. And she didn't necessarily love a math teacher coming to her house at 4 or 5 o'clock at night, to sit down before dinner and do more math. That wasn't her way of exciting work. And then one day I showed like some of the videos that the students made. That at the time I only had a few. I only had a very few. Penelope actually was, one of the very first ones also making a video. But I had like one, Tiana and like Camilla's videos, and I think even Camilla, your sister, even had a video too. And this girl, Penelope, was inspired, and I allowed her to, actually use the tablet PC during our tutoring hour. Don't worry, I didn't charge her extra for the extra time while she was using the computer, but I did stay like an extra half hour or hour or something for free because the kid was so excited, and I knew something exciting was going on. I could just feel it. And this girl would just write and draw and draw and draw and make hearts and draw. And next thing you know, she made her first video, and it was so beautiful. And the video is just, her voice is so calm and just goes right through the whole thing. And then she made another one. And then every time I started coming to her house to go tutor, she was excited, and she actually started baking cookies. And that's pretty amazing. Instead of trying to block the door for me, she was really excited, had cookies waiting for me, and she couldn't wait and didn't want the hour to end when she was being tutored. And she ended up getting a better grade, which, I think a lot of it because she felt better. She was able to show that she did know what she was talking about. Thank you for reminding me about that story.
Let me ask you, Tiana and Camilla, let me ask you guys something. Do you think that kids teaching kids is something that should happen through high school and college, or, I mean, how important is that, do you think?
I think it's very important. Like I was saying, this year math is very hard for me, and I am always asking the people who sit next to me, wait, can you go over that again? Can you re-explain that? And they're able to explain those important steps that my math teacher will zoom by because he assumes that I already know them. And even in English classes, just having that extra voice in there from my perspective, someone who's still developing their writing style and can put inputs from their perspective as opposed to someone who has a very set and often closed-minded point of view. It's nice and refreshing and very comforting to have someone your own age explain these things to you.
Did you want to? I see that a question just popped up from the web, because we're live, which is such a wild experience. And somebody has asked a question. Do you want me? Should I read it or?
Yeah. Go ahead, Eric. Yeah.
It looks like I think the question is, we talked about the tablet PC being like a breakthrough, and what's the tool now and whatnot. And so we haven't really talked about that. And I can just say first from my perspective, and then if the students have other things. We're very excited about the fact, with iPads, right? That's one aspect. We've already had students making some screencasts with iPads. So you can use like something like Doceri, which is one of my favorites, D-O-C-E-R-I, or there's Screen Chomp, and there's Educreations and Show Me, different apps that allow you to do this even more simpler than maybe the way we had to do it with the tablet PC. So there's those kind of great things. Does any of the students want to mention more about that stuff, because you're out there on the ground there?
I mean, I don't exactly have anything to say about a breakthrough tool, because I know like we said, we kind of were making the videos a few years ago. So, but I can't say something about that because at one of the conferences I talked to this summer, they I believe the app was Screenshot, but you're gonna have to back me up on that one. But there was an app where you can actually make screencasts on an iPad, which was really awesome because so a lot of people, it seems like this really long process that you have to go to record and edit and produce these things, but they're very simple, and like Mr. Marco said, having the iPad tool is very useful.
Camilla, I wanted to see what you had to say about the question on why teaching kids is such a significant factor. What were your thoughts on that?
I just wanted to say that it's important in the 6th grade setting, like I said, because we had all learned things in the same way, and we were still kind of new to a lot of the math things. And Tiana mentioned that sometimes teachers aren't sure at what point kids are understanding, but I just wanted to emphasize that I think it's important in any level, really, throughout any of your schooling, and even when you're adult, to have one of your peers explain something to you. So that's just kind of the really important thing about kids teaching kids, is that, and we mentioned it before, is that they can understand things in the same way. And so I think I don't believe that it takes away from any of the teacher's time, and I feel like it's just as vital as an aspect of teaching. So I think it can be used at any level.
No, that's great. We're getting close to the top of the hour, and so we always like to end on time. I wanted to do you guys have any sort of things that we may have missed or you wanted to cover? Eric. Eric's hand is raised.
I figured if I talk now, I can then mute myself and let the kids end in an uplifting note. But
that
I do
sounds
want to
good.
mention that there are some great things going on. Like, even though it's been 6 years, it's still kind of a new thing, which is, wild. But it's still kind of a new thing. But there is like some actual research going on now. Like, there's a guy named Dr. Eric Hamilton from Pepperdine University. He's doing a lot of work. In fact, he has a conference where he does something, it's called like WIPTE.org, I think. And so they're doing actual research on, the effectiveness and whatnot of like student-based and even teacher-based like tutorials and all that, which is great. And so that's exciting. And I just want to mention also that it's helped me as a teacher. I think I ask deeper questions now during class because I've watched the students asking themselves questions. I feel like now I have a longer wait time where a student will say, what's 4 plus 5, and they'll say 9, and I'll wait to see if they really know that the answer is 9 or something, instead of just right away saying yes when it's right, or saying, are you sure it's 9? I don't know if I'm explaining that part well, but I definitely know that I'm asking deeper questions and having the students actually explain a lot more, as if they're a live screencast in my class every day. So that's it for me. I'm going to mute myself, and thank you to everyone and all that, and thank you, and hi, Mom and Dad, because I think you're watching.
I'm going to give Camilla and Tiana the final word in just 1 second here. Thanks, Eric. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. On the website, we encourage you to continue commenting on today's section, on today's webinar, and also use the hashtag Connected Learning on Twitter to keep things going. And by Friday morning, tomorrow, we'll have a full recording of this webinar and all of the curated content up on the archive webinar page. For the next several weeks, ConnectedLearning.tv will be running a mini-series, our first mini-series, based on a Connected Learning report that we're publishing next week. And the first webinar in that series will be Tuesday, January 15th, so this coming Tuesday, 10:30 to 11:30 Pacific time. And it'll be with Mimi Ito and Katie Salen. And they will be sharing the origin of the Connected Learning principles and what constitutes a Connected Learning environment. And you don't want to miss that. And now I wanted to give Camilla and Tiana the final word for today. Any last words, guys?
Just want to say thanks. Oh, Camilla, you muted.
There I am. Thank you so much for listening. We really enjoyed talking today.
No, you guys have been great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Bob.
And we are Out.